email, and you should receive that probably by, and I'm going to apologize for the time frame, but it will probably be by the end of the week. So I apologize for that. We have a statewide staff meeting that we're getting ready to go to the next 3 days. So there might be a little bit of delay before you get that presentation. Be mindful of other participants and not cause any distractions. A lot of us tend to multitask. And so if you're moving around, doing some extra things and trying to listen to today's presentation, just make sure your camera is turned off so that that movement is not a distraction. And we would appreciate that very much. I'm going to do a little bit of intro about the Oklahoma SBDC and what we do. We provide confidential, high quality, no cost entrepreneurial and small business management advising to businesses throughout Oklahoma. You might be wondering how we do that, and it's because we are funded in part by the U.S. Small Business Administration and through partners like universities, career techs, chambers of commerce, and other economic development entities. As you can see on this map of Oklahoma, we are located across the entire state. We have a team of over 30 advisors, and those individuals can reach you no matter where you're located throughout the state. We are constantly adding new locations. Each one of those advisors can be considered a business generalist, and some of them may have a specific area of expertise as well. So if you register for advising and say one of our advisors has a strong history in restaurant ownership or oil and gas or international trade, we are going to bring that advisor on and co-advise with you so that you have the entire expertise of our network so that we can help set you up for success. We work with all small businesses that are federally recognized as a small business. And it's important to note that most all of our advisors have been or may even currently be business owners themselves. So they, believe me, they understand the challenges that you face on a daily basis. Again, a little bit about our funding. The U.S. Small Business Administration provides a federal funding, which requires a dollar for dollar match. State funding and host partnerships provide that required match. I mentioned our advisors and the wide array of experience or expertise they may have. This is just a short list, but you can see it's very wide, and we are accredited by America's SBDC. So by that accreditation, we are required to maintain a very rigorous educational standard for our team. It's just one of the many ways that we make sure you have a very talented and up-to-date team that is very knowledgeable about today's ever-changing economy. Here is the agenda for today. We've run over the introductions. We will move through the creating a capability statement, and then we'll do the Q&A. And there may be some times when Julie wants to pause to see if there are any questions we want to cover. If so, we will do that, but I will be helping navigate you through the chat. And again, make sure you drop all your questions in the chat stream. And I hope you take lots of notes today and enjoy the content that Julie has prepared for you. So without further ado, I'm going to stop my screen share and I'm going to pass the microphone to Julie.
All right.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Cindy, for the introduction and for the overview of the SBDC. We're glad to be a partner with the SBDC. So I am going to share my screen real quick and make sure everything looks okay. Cindy, is that good? Okay. All right. Again, hi, welcome to our presentation. My name is Julie Farmer, and I am with the Oklahoma Association of Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, which we refer to as OKPTAC. If you've been in the state of Oklahoma and government contracting for a while, you may know us as OBAN, which is the Oklahoma Bid Assistance Network, but we have recently changed our name, our organization name, to align nationally with the other PTACs throughout the nation. So my first slide kind of talks about that. When we talk about what is a Procurement Technical Assistance Center. It is a nationwide network. We have locations all over the nation that all provide similar services. And we are basically here to help businesses compete in the local government marketplace or nationwide. Nationwide, there are 94 PTACs with over 300 local offices. And here in the state of Oklahoma, we have 10 centers located throughout the state. I am housed at Eastern Oklahoma County Technology Center in Choctaw, but I have clients all over Eastern Oklahoma County, including Norman, Edmond. We're kind of scattered through all of the state. So we service the entire state. So if you are located in Lawton or if you're located in Altus, we have a coordinator that's close to you that can help meet your needs. So this is our nationwide website. I will also list this at the end of the presentation. I'm assuming everyone on this call is from Oklahoma, but if you're not, you can go to that website and click on your state and find your local PTAC office. And I'll just quickly, side note, here in the state of Oklahoma, we are housed at Career Tech Centers, which is a great advantage. We're able to provide a lot of services through Career Tech. In other states, the PTACs are located at state offices, chambers of commerce, community colleges, etc. Okay, so what can we do for you? These are just a brief description of what a PTAC can do for your company. We can help you secure necessary registrations, assist with small business certifications, research procurement history, identify bid opportunities, and locate resources. So I will quickly go over those individually. As far as securing necessary registrations, if you're interested in the government marketplace, there's a program called SAM that you have to get registered in. But all of the state and local offices have their own vendor registration systems. So we take that as a case-by-case basis. If you're a company that's interested in just federal contracting, we'll get you registered in SAM. And then we also have other companies that are just interested in state and local, so we can help them get registered with the state of Oklahoma, different cities, counties, etc. But we do always encourage companies to register in SAM for the federal government because it is a free registration. And once you have that done, you just have to renew it every year. So it's a good idea to go ahead and get registered in SAM, which stands for System for Award Management. Right, and we often help companies with SBA certifications such as HubZone, Woman-Owned, and then we also assist companies with businesses such as the ODOT Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification. So if there's any kind of certifications you're interested in for your business to help you have this, a one-up in the game of government contracting, we can definitely help you look at those certifications, see what type of certification you qualify for, and help you through that process. In researching procurement history, there are several great databases that are available that are public record. The one we use most frequently is called USA Spending. That's usaspending.gov. And this site will allow you to research past procurements, and you can do specific searches if you're looking at awards from Tinker Air Force Base, or if you're looking at, nationwide for the Federal Aviation Administration. You can do a search in this database and see all of the procurements that have taken place. If you're looking at your competition, you can look and see what contracts they have. So it's a very useful database. Like I said, it's a public database that's free to use. Another way to do procurement research is by setting up a BidMatch. So here within the state of Oklahoma, we have our PTAC has a subscription to a service, a BidMatch service. So what we do is we set up a company profile for your company, and we can enter keywords that allow you to search different databases. So this database, we enter your company under keywords, and it essentially harvests all these websites ranging from FAA, State of Oklahoma, Oklahoma County, City of Edmond, any site that has bid opportunities posted on their site. It harvests those sites using those keywords and sends you a daily bid match. So this is a really good way to do some procurement history to see what the market is like, who is buying your product or service, but then it also notifies you of potential bid opportunities that you may not have already known about. And it kind of frees up your time rather than having to go to all these websites daily to do searches. It sends you a daily bid match. So it's a very useful tool. And that is also, as all of our services are, no cost to Oklahoma businesses. Then we also help you locate resources. I mentioned here in the state of Oklahoma, we are sponsored by Department of Defense and by the state of Oklahoma Career Tech Department. So being housed at Career Tech Centers allows us to introduce you to other career tech services such as safety training if you need OSHA certification or a specific certification for a contract you're working on or for your insurance rates. We can definitely help you locate those training opportunities, or if you need QuickBooks training. We just recently had a company that identified the need for supervisory training. We were able to locate a trainer and get that training provided to them. And most of those services are low cost or no cost. Okay, a big part of the reason we're doing this presentation, talking about having a capability statement, is to use it for marketing and networking. So in the government contracting marketplace, there are a lot of companies that want a piece of that pie. So a big part of that is marketing and networking. So we host a wide variety of conferences every year. I'll talk more about later in the presentation about our Indian Country Business Summit, which is hosted in August every year. It's at the Embassy Suites in Norman. And this conference will have informational sessions as well as an entire day dedicated to matchmaking. And when I say matchmaking, I'm referring to one-on-one pitch meetings with government agencies. So this allows you to use your capability statement, which we're going to go through today, and you can sit down one-on-one with those government agencies and present your product or service and let them become more familiar with you and your company. There's also a lot of trade fairs that will market and introduce you to. As I mentioned, business matchmaking events. And all these will be listed on our state website, which I will show later in the slides. In June, our Kiamichi Tech in McAllister is hosting a business matchmaking event. Those are all extremely important for small businesses wishing to enter the government marketplace. This allows you to make that one-on-one introduction with those agencies rather than just, giving them a phone call or sending them an email. Having that face-to-face is very important. And then also customized training and networking events. As I mentioned, being at Career Tech, we can provide companies with customized training. An example, I had a company that was starting a project out at Tinker, and the day of the job site, they showed up and they learned from the prime contractor that they had to have a specific EM 385 safety training for anyone that was going to be on the project. So we were able to last minute pull that training together and get that delivered. And so just keep that in mind. If you're a company, any type of training that you need, whether it's soft skills or government contracting or estimating, we can always help find an instructor to meet that need. And then again, networking events throughout the year. I mentioned the Indian Country Business Summit, but we have a wide variety of networking events. In March, we hosted our first OKPTAC Connect conference at Metro Tech. It was very successful. We had Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma Department of Transportation, and the state of Oklahoma all presenting. And they talked about how to do business with those agencies. And it also, again, allowed our clients to make that one-on-one connection. Okay, so what is a capability statement? Basically, a capability statement is a one-page document that is a resume for your company. So when you think about a resume for yourself, you're talking about your experience, you're essentially bragging on yourself, maybe talking about projects you've worked on or companies that you've worked for, your education, your experience, etc. That's what a capability statement is for your business. So these are just some areas that we're going to mention, and I'll show you some examples. You can change this up however you would like, but this is kind of the nuts and bolts of what you could list on your capability statement. So we have an About Us section, core competencies, past performance, differentiators, company data, and important codes. So under the About Us company overview section, you definitely want to list your company history. And again, just like on a resume, if you're new to the workforce, you're going to highlight other areas that are stronger. So if you're a new company, you may want to briefly give an overview of your president or vice president, their background. If they're in a similar field before you started your company, always highlight that. Provide an overview of products or services. So give a quick overview of what you're providing and what you're proposing to sell to the government. Always list how many years you're in business, and then list information about the owner or CEO. And when we're talking about government contracting, you always want to make sure that if you're a woman-owned business, that you list that at least once in your capability statement. If you're Native American-owned, make sure you always highlight that not only on your capability statement, but also on your business cards. That's a very important part of government contracting, is having those set asides. So core competencies. So when we talk about having a one-page document, we always encourage companies to not use long paragraphs, use bulleted points. No one wants to read long paragraphs anymore. You can create a document for each agency for a prime or teaming opportunity. A lot of my companies are, if they're wanting to go after a federal contract, they may just have state and local contracts. They can always include that on there. But if you're a more experienced company, say you have a lot of FAA experience versus Army Corps of Engineers experience, you can highlight that experience first when you're marketing to that specific agency. And as I mentioned, always try to limit to one page. If you need to do double-sided, that's fine. This is something that you're going to hand to the contracting officers when you meet with them. But in most instances, you're saving it and distributing as a PDF. So this is great. For example, Tinker Air Force Base, they keep a database of all the companies that are interested in doing business with Tinker, and they save their capability statements and they distribute it to the other Air Force bases, and they could use your product or service. And the same with the state of Oklahoma. The entry point for meetings that I set up one-on-one with agencies is always a capability statement. I will send so again, if you're wanting to meet with like the state of Oklahoma, I will send them an email. Hi, this is ABC company, their capability statements attached. When can we set up a one-on-one meeting? So it's just a really easy way to make an introduction and to show them that you're capable of doing government contracting. So I'm going to stop real quick and check the chat and see if we have any questions.
I didn't see any questions in there just now.
Okay. Okay, past performance. So as I mentioned, always list past customers of similar scope and size. A lot of small businesses do not have a large list of government contracting experience, so I encourage them, even if it's commercial. I always encourage companies to list their government first and then their large commercial projects. And this just is basically, again, your resume. You're showing these government agencies what you've done in the past and show them that you're capable of doing this contract. And then again, I'm repeating myself, but prioritize yourself by agency relations. So if you're targeting FAA and you've had a wide variety of government contracting experience, make sure you list that FAA experience first, and I'll show you some examples. Differentiators. Identify what makes your company different from your competition. So if you have any awards or certification, this is the time to brag about your company. If there's, if you're OSHA certified, if you're ISO certified, make sure you list that. If you have a specific, like the EM 385 training that's required by the Army Corps of Engineers, list that. If you are Small Business of the Year, make sure you list that. This is just a good way to kind of brag on your awards and certifications. And if you have logos from those agencies and or organizations, you can include those logos as well. Company data. So at a minimum, and at least one time, include your company name, website address, social media accounts. LinkedIn is really big right now. I make sure all of my companies have LinkedIn accounts, and I make sure I share everything they're posting. So make sure you list your handle for your Twitter, Facebook, etc. Your email, your phone, and your locations. So if you're a business that has multiple locations, that's definitely attractive to government agencies, whether it's statewide or nationwide. Okay, so make sure that you list important codes. What used to be DUNS is now unique entity identifier. That is a whole other presentation. So if you need assistance with identifying your unique entity identifier, make sure you get with your local PTAC office. And then also, again, as I mentioned, make sure that you list your socioeconomic certification. So if you're 8A, HUBZone, Service Disabled, Veteran-Owned Business, Native American-Owned, etc. NAICS codes, list all of your NAICS codes. I'll show you some examples of some companies have the description of their NAICS next to it. Some companies just have the code. Your CAGE code, if you accept government credit cards, purchase cards. If you don't, I would definitely make sure that could be an option for your company. If you have any GSA schedules or other contract vehicles like statewide contracts, make sure you list that on there as well. Okay, so this is what I feel is the best way to teach a company how to do a capability statement is look at examples. So all of these capability statements of companies that I've pulled, I've either gotten permission from them or just have pulled them. You can do a simple Google search. So if you are a tree service company, you can just go into Google and type in capability statement for a tree service, and it'll bring you up a lot of examples. And I always encourage companies to go look at their competitors' capability statements and make theirs better. So you want to see what all they have, see what you can list that they don't have listed, and always just try to make yours better than your competition. So on the left-hand side, I think Cindy has a better example or a boilerplate than I do that she can send you. But this is just a simple boilerplate. You'll see some of the examples that I'm going to show you. They look very similar to this one. I have attached Surf Pro, which is one of the companies that I work for. I've referred to the EM85 training several times throughout this presentation. They were a company that has that training. But as you can see on the left hand, so at the top they have their company logo. Always listing, I encourage you to list your contact information at the top and the bottom if possible. But they listed their company contact info, listing that they have multiple locations. Under the pertinent codes, they have their DUNS. So this obviously needs to be updated to include their UEI. That's something I'll be working with companies. I believe that went into effect April 4th, so it's pretty new. So again, if you're familiar with hearing Dun & Bradstreet or DUNS numbers, it's now unique entity identifier. They've changed the numbering process. It's automatically changed over for you. But if you are a new company registering in SAM, we will no longer be requesting DUNS numbers. They've also listed their company cage code, which is a code that's automatically assigned to you after you register with the federal government, and then listing out specific NAICS codes. So as you can see in this example, this company is listed 236118, which is a code that identifies fire and flood restoration. And you can list the description or not, but if you have space, I would definitely encourage you to do so. Under skills, you can just give a quick see. You can see the bulleted list of what they've titled skills. And then their capabilities is just a brief, something that would be similar to your small dynamic business search, a capability statement, just a short paragraph that gives an overview of your company. Core competencies, which is very similar to skills. And there's that differentiator section where I talked about if you have a specific, OSHA or, if you're like right here, they listed they're NADCA certified. If there's any kind of certifications that you have that would set you aside from your competition, make sure you definitely have that listed in there. And then under past performance, this is a good example of a company that has federal experience, but obviously has a lot of commercial experience as well. Move my. Okay, so this example is a example I pulled from that I Googled. And so this is a logistics company. You can see this is done a lot more professionally than something that I can just help you do. But they have the company logo. On the left-hand side, they have their NAICS codes listed. Again, DUNS numbers, which you'll see those change to UEIs. And I kind of want to just point this out that I give you examples and I gave you a template that you can use, but you can categorize these however you would like. So this company chose to put their capabilities. They have some nice bullets right there, their differentiators, awards and accomplishments, and then obviously their contact info. Sorry. Okay. All right. This is another one that I pulled from Google, and just kind of showing you different formats. I like how this company has their contact info listed on the top right. They have their multiple locations, and they just have made this their own. So you can always just put your services wherever you'd like. They highlighted their awards and their certifications and partnerships. And then you can see their past performance. They have a lot of commercial. Then they also have some city projects as well. And they listed their NAICS codes and SIC codes. And this company also listed their years of experience, which is important, especially when you have a company that has 30 plus years. And this looks a lot like the template that I shared with you. So I just wanted to show you this, that anyone can do this. You can just put your company logo at the top. And this is very similar to the template that I showed you earlier. You can notice that they listed their set-asides, and under the past performance, they listed the project location, and then they gave a brief overview of what they did for that contract, which I think that's something really good to include if you have the space. This is just another example. This one has a lot more information on it, but I feel like they've used this space to the best of their ability. But you can see that they have just a brief background on their organization. And they have their key customers, their key capabilities, and they've listed their set-asides, what sets them apart, certifications and awards. And I wanted to show you this example because it does have the logo where they got their ISO certification. So if you can do that, or if you can put logos of agencies you have contracts with, if you have their permission, that's always good to include. And this is just another example. I included this because they have that women-owned small business logo they've included. So again, that's, people like visuals. So if you have some logos that you can include, that's always a good idea. Okay, so that concludes my presentation. We'll allow some time for some questions. This is my contact info. I've included my information, my phone number, my email address, my LinkedIn account, and I listed that APTAC website if you are out of the state of Oklahoma, or maybe you have a location in another state, or even if you're looking at bidding on a project in another state and you want to find some subcontractors, you can always reach out to the PTAC in that state. I'd definitely go through your PTAC here in Oklahoma to do so. But we, being in multiple states, allows us to connect you with companies from other states as well. So just within my portfolio of companies, I have over 300 companies, and then statewide, we have that times 10. And so nationwide, you can imagine how many companies that we have registered in the PTAC program that we can help connect you with if you need subs or a company to partner with. I've also listed our state website. If you want to copy that link into your browser, that will allow you to see all of our upcoming events, and also help you find your local PTAC counselor. Okay, with that, do we have any questions, Cindy?
Okay, I see a couple of questions that have come in. The first one is, what if, referring back to the capability statement, what if there are no past customers?
Okay, just like in a resume, so if I have a lot of experience, but I don't have any education, I'm going to list all that experience first. So the categories that I gave you are just suggestions. You don't have to have that in there. But as you get that experience, I would make sure that you add that in. So if you're looking at the government contracting arena, federal contracting, and you register in SAM, there is a site called the Small Dynamic Business Search that is an SBA website. And that's something, working with your PTAC counselor, they can help you get that registration completed as well. But the same thing on that Small Dynamic Business Search, if you don't have experience, you don't have to list it, but as you get those contracts, you want to make sure that you include that. So all of these documents are fluid. I mean, you want to make them where you can update them quickly and get them sent out electronically.
Okay, so the next question is, should they reference individual contacts?
You can. So there could be an entire presentation over creating your Small Dynamic Business Search, but within that tool, it's kind of like a capability statement. It's just an online platform. There is a field to insert the contact for that contract. Okay, let me clarify. Are you asking if you reference individual contracts for contacts for contracts you have, or within your company?
So my question, sorry.
No, go ahead, Walter.
Thank you. I was just thinking in terms of on the capability statements, I had noticed some included point of contact, some did not. I was trying to think what would be best if you would have maybe just one primary, or maybe have a couple for different things, or not at all, as I saw with some. I was just curious if there was any rhyme or reason to that.
Right. Good question. I would definitely put a point of contact, at least one. So maybe you have a president of the company, and then you have a primary point of contact. I would definitely list those, or you can just list the primary point of contact. It's up to you.
Did that answer your question, Walter?
I'm sorry, I had to take a drink of water.
Yes, thank you.
But yes, I definitely think it's important, Walter, to include contacts on your capability statement.
Great question, Walter. Okay, so the next one, would you please confirm or clarify that DUNS as of April 5th is no longer needed to be listed on capability statement?
That's a great question, and I saw that in the chat. That's something that I haven't thought about because it is also new. I would say right now to list both, but or just list your unique entity identifier. Like I said, to be safe right now, maybe you can just list both. They for a while they did have in SAM they had both listed. So sorry, I don't have. I would say either list both right now for like another 6 months or so, and then just list your UEI.
Great question, Jana. Okay, next question. How do you become a certified women-owned small business?
Okay, there are several ways to get certified as a woman-owned small business. If you go to www.sba.gov, you can do a search for the Women-Owned Small Business Program under federal contracting, or you can, I believe it's sba.gov/women-owned. But just go to the SBA website, look at all of the criteria. You can either get certified through a third party, which they have all of those listed, or you can do the self-certification through their program. So there is a checklist. There's two different categories. There's women-owned small business versus economically disadvantaged women-owned small business. So I would look at all of those requirements, determine which ones you're eligible for, and gather all of your documents first, and then get with your local PTAC or another service provider to help you with that certification application process.
Okay. Another question, are the numbers the same or different when you're comparing the done versus unique?
They're different. And I believe the unique entity identifier is like 2 more digits. So to make sure that it's not the same number of digits, but yes, it is different. So it's really easy, simple. You can just go look it up in SAM. I can help you do that. But it's already, if you're already in SAM, you have been assigned a unique entity identifier. And also, why I'm saying that, be patient. This is a very new system, so we are having a lot of problems. But I was able to get in with the company this morning and update their SAM profile with no problem. But there are, with any new system, there are a lot of there's a lot of service tickets being entered, let me put it that way. So just be patient throughout this process where they're trying to update the system and make it more user-friendly for everyone.
Okay. Emily, you had a question that you dropped in the chat. Do you want to unmute and clarify your question with Julie? Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question. Are you able to help with identifying a mentor for a startup lawn control lawn care business?
Sure.
Okay.
I've mentioned several times the small dynamic business search, but that system will allow you to go in and do a search for a company either by a keyword or with a NAICS code, and you can identify existing government contractors and reach out to them. But also within our database, within our portfolio of companies that we serve throughout the state, that's a simple sending an email out to my counterparts to ask if there's a specific company that would be interested in being a mentor. And then the SBA has a formal mentor protege program. So I would refer you to the SBA for that.
Okay. So Philip, who is an attorney, has asked, I've contracted with the federal government in a person capacity. Can I list this as experience if I seek a contract for my business?
Okay, so to clarify, you've had contracts with the federal government and now you have a company, but your experience is outside of the company?
Philip, are you able to unmute?
Okay, he said yes. So yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Definitely. As I mentioned earlier, not everyone is going to have a portfolio of 20 different government contracts they can list as their experience. So you want to put as much on there as you possibly can. So yes, if you had a personal experience, you know, self-employment as far as having a contract with the federal government, and now you're working with the company to get the same business, I would definitely list that. You could just put, you know, owner has experience with, you know, you can give examples of the agencies you've had contracts with. But yes, you can definitely list that.
Okay. That's all the questions I see in the chat box. We'll allow you a few more minutes if you want to try to unmute. I've adjusted the settings, so you should be able to unmute and ask questions to take advantage of Julie's time with us today. In the meantime, we are required by SBA every time we offer a training to have a satisfactory poll. And we're required to have that because the SBA will come in and audit those event files to make sure that we're gathering your feedback to see how we can do better, maybe additional things that we need to offer. So I'm going to launch a poll. And if you have the ability to fill that out, I would greatly appreciate it. I want to remind you that you can check out our website at www.OKSBDC.org. If you're not currently engaged advising with one of our specialty advisors, we would love the chance to work with you. You just click on register for advising. It's as simple as that. We'll get you assigned to work with an advisor. I also encourage you to look at the future workshops. We have some additional workshops coming up where we will partner with the OKPTAC. You may find interesting. All right. Well, I appreciate the information you shared in the poll. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I'm going to make sure that you receive a copy of today's presentation via email. Excuse me. And again, I should get that out by the end of the week. If for some reason you don't get it, it may be because you signed in under a different name, username than you did when you registered for the event. That's how I track the attendance and send the information out via email. So if for some reason you don't get a copy of it, please reach out to me. I'll be glad to send that to you ASAP. In the meantime, I want to thank Julie for her time today and gathering the information for this presentation. Julie works very closely with the Oklahoma Small Business Development Center. And anytime we have clients that we feel are ready to move on to do any kind of contracting or things like that, we co-advise and work very closely with the Oklahoma PTAC organization. So I encourage you to reach out to either of our organizations, follow our organizations on social media. There's a lot of information that we push out through those streams as well. And if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to wish each of you a wonderful day. I always love seeing all of your faces on the trainings. I appreciate your feedback. If there's topics that you don't see on our training calendar that you would love to see, please reach out. I'm very open to that. We customize trainings as well. So if you feel there are some needs for your business that you don't see on our calendar, please reach out. I'm always open to listening to that suggestion, and more than likely you'll see it on our calendar. So with that, again, I'm going to wish each of you a beautiful day. I hope to see your faces again. Have a great rest of your day. Be safe, be healthy, and I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.